Good morning, everybody. I do hope you are safe and sound. Welcome to today's Ask the Expert Intuit's QuickBooks daily session, going live weekday at 8:30 to 9 a.m. My name is Aaron Patrick. I'm a chartered accountant and certified QuickBooks trainer. I own a state-of-the-art accountancy practice called Bofix, which uses the best in cloud technology to help small businesses get the information they need at their fingertips. If you require accounting advice, payroll, bookkeeping, or anything to do with the aid that's on offer, please do get in touch. Okay, so that's enough about me, and let's focus on today's session. Today's session is all about your burning questions. If you have a question, then please use any of our social channels to get in touch. You can use Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. On any of those platforms, use the hashtag QBATE, that's QBATE, to get a question over to myself. So while we wait for the first of the questions to arrive, let's think about what we've kind of learned from these series so far. It was a privilege for me to kickstart this only just at the start of the month, and it's amazing how much insight we've had from the experts so far. We've had fellow accountants on here. We've had the brilliant Merle from Furlough, talking about legal issues. We've had the two Alexes, one from Influence Room, one from the High Street, and each of them has given us a great insight into what's going on. And I think more than anything else, it's learned or it's showed us that we're not alone in any of this. Every aspect of every different business is having their own issues, their own problems, and it's great that we've been able to come along and be able to learn together as we go through. So I thought the best thing to do before we go into questions is, as an accounting practice, is talk about how we've been dealing and helping our clients and making sure our clients have got the best out of the schemes that are available. And the most prominent one of the ones at the moment, because it only went live 48 hours ago, should I say, is the job retention scheme. So I'll go through and talk about what we've learned from the job retention scheme in the first 48 hours. So just as a recap, the job retention scheme is one of the emergency schemes that was released. It went live on the 20th of April, so only 2 days ago. The government will cover 80% of the basic salary of an at-risk employee. And it's important everyone realizes it's the at-risk employee status that's there. It's up to a cap of $2,500 per month per employee. We also have been processing these claims on behalf of our clients, and we've been reading the Facebook community, the QuickBooks Facebook community, and it seems that we've all been having kind of the same issues and the same problems. So I thought it'd be best to give you a little bit of an insight and a little bit of top tips to help you go through the day. So a quick summary of the pro tips that will be really useful for you if you are looking to make a claim or you are asking one of your accountants to make a claim on your behalf. The first thing is, if you are asking an accountant, is do make sure that they've got the full 64.8 in place for your PAYE scheme. That seems to be a bit of an issue there, where clients assume that because the client's acting or because their accountant's acting on their behalf for maybe self-employment or corporation tax, they also need to have and make sure they've got a 64.8, so that's the authority to act on their behalf. They must have that in place for PAYE as well. Also, the accountant needs to have your bank details. Now, they're going to have to take those bank details off you because they need to be told where to pay, or where HMRC, should I say, are going to pay the money into your scheme. Now, when you are sending bank details over, even if it's to your accountant, still make sure you're being sensible about it. Make sure that, like in our case, we're asking for 2 different areas to be sent. So we ask for the sort code to be sent on our online form, and then we're asking for the client to also send their bank details or their bank account number via their email. So be sensible about the way that you're sending your bank details over to your accountant. Currently, when you press submit as well on the scheme, that is your last chance to make sure that everything's okay. You don't have the ability to go and amend that form at this point in time, and you don't have the ability to send a separate form in for a particular business. So please, before you make that and press that submission button, take a copy of what it is you're submitting. So take a screenshot or print a PDF, whatever works for you. Retain those records as best as you possibly can, and then when it comes to it, make sure that when you press the submit button, you've gone through all of the items on there and you're happy that it's been correct. Even something as simple as misspelling your name or your company name can result in the scheme or the process not going through. So do double check, make sure you go through all of the data before you press submit, and then when you press submit, you're going to have confidence that that's going to go through first time. Also, depending on when the what one thing that people haven't kind of considered, I don't think, is that this isn't going to be a one-off claim. This is also going to be a claim that we're looking to be doing on a month-by-month basis, depending on your circumstances, depending on if you need to claim for it more than once. So please make sure that from your point of view, that you've got everything in line, and you're ready to be able to make multiple claims if you need to on a month-by-month basis. Just so you're aware, let's make sure that we can remember that everything that talking about COVID-19 and the job retention scheme, if you want to look into it a lot more detail, we've got a really good collaboration guide with our friends at Furlough. So if you head over to their website, there's a blog there created by myself and by the team at Furlough, and there you can learn a lot more about the job retention scheme. Okay, then. So, with the job retention scheme out of the way, let's talk about some QuickBooks questions. First of all, I've got Jack Wheatley over at YouTube asking, am I too late for the job retention scheme? And what is the best way to get set up on it? Well, it depends really on your personal circumstances. If your personal circumstances are that you've not made a RTI submission, so that's a payroll submission before March, before the cutoff point, then at that point, then unfortunately you're not available for this particular scheme. The rules were in place that you had to have made a submission prior to March, and it had to have been in there as an RTI submission there. What QuickBooks would do, or what HMR should say were doing, was they were taking that data submitted and they were using that as a basis of who was eligible for the scheme. So if you weren't submitting at that point, then you wouldn't have the ability to go from there. But don't worry though, there are plenty of schemes available. There's plenty of ways in which you can apply for some aid from the government. And with that in mind, you want to be utilizing things like the um, business development, business interruption loan. So you want to be talking to your banks and making sure that you're communicating with them of how your system is going and how your current situation is. And if you talk to them and you explain to them, then hopefully you'll be able to look at getting finance available to get you through. Other options available for you would be looking at going into the universal credit scheme, seeing if that's available for you, and seeing if there's items like that. So don't be too worried about it. The scheme wouldn't be available for you if you haven't submitted by them, but do make sure that you look at all available options to get you through. We also had a question from Kirsty Dixon from YouTube. What are my HR responsibilities from my employees as they start and during for long? Well, this is a really good question. It's also a question where you've got to make sure that you've got all your ducks in row. Now, when it comes to the job retention scheme, you've got to make sure from a HR point of view, you've got everything sorted. So what this question is relating to here is for your own staff, if you are having to put them onto the scheme itself, have you got everything in place? So one of the things I would really want you to consider from your point of view is, how do you talk about this to clients? How do you for your employees, how do you make sure that they feel supported and they feel that they've got everything in place? And the best thing to do that is to go through the right process when it comes to putting someone on a job retention scheme. So your first responsibility as an employer is to talk to your employees and explain to them they are what we class as at risk. Once they're on that at risk status, then technically they're not allowed to work for you. They're basically on a gardening leave in some aspects. And at that point, you need to make sure that you've got everything in line in terms of your HR to make sure that it's all available for you. Now, the best thing to make sure that everything's sorted and everything's in place would be that you have the ability then to give them the right HR element. So make sure that you've got them all signed up with the right contracts, and that make sure that from that point of view, that you've also talked to them and communicated exactly how that position affects them. Now, one thing that you can help you with this is by looking at people like Furlough. So that's our legal partners that we use at Bofix, and they've got a brilliant letter that can be created and you can be utilized to be sending over to your employees. And as long as you made sure that everything's highlighted to them, that they're on fully um, they fully understand what's going on with their position. Because you think about it from their point of view, their job's at risk. They're going to be worried about how it's going to be. So you need to explain to them exactly how and what's going on. And at that point, I think it would be a really good situation for you to make sure that all your HR is up to date, everything's included there. You've got the letters out to the employees as they need to be. And then at that point, you can then go and claim from the scheme, knowing that you've got everything in line and that no one can come back at you and get any fraudulent claims or anything like that. We've also had a question from James Harlow from YouTube. It says, how has your firm and other firms that have been worked with adapted to the pressures imposed by the COVID-19 pandemic? And that's a really good question. And that's really aimed at more accountants more than anything else and how they're dealing with COVID-19. Now, the first thing that we've learned as a business is, as a business itself, and every business has gone through this, we've had to figure out and understand how we were going to work from home, how we were going to put social distancing in place, how we were going to continue our business going forward without actually having to impact on other people's health and other people's issues, and make sure that we were compliant to what the government guidelines were. So that was our first hurdle to go over. We were understanding and trying to make sure that we had everything in place so that we can keep our employees safe. So my team, and making sure they were safe. And then we had to understand how we can still deliver our services to our customers and our clients to make sure that they were still getting the best solution. So first of all, it was all about making sure we had the right software. So we had to make sure we had cloud-based solutions available, so that our employees can carry on working. So for us, we use things like Teams, Microsoft Teams, so that we're continuing to collaborate. And we felt like we were talking to one another and having everything in place. And then we had to make sure our phone system was available. So voice over IP was really important to us, so that we could then make sure that we can deploy our phone solution to each of our employees wherever they were living in the UK. And then we needed to make sure that from our services point of view, we had to go through each service that we offered and make sure that if there was going to be interruption to whatever it was going to be, we communicated with our clients straight away. So that's for a standard business. Go through those steps, make sure that you can get support to your employees and get support to your customers as soon as possible. The next part, though, is particularly about accountants. And I think it's a change in the way that we've developed and the way that we've given out information and the way that we've supported our clients. This is completely different to anything we've ever had to do before. So we've had to reimagine, if you like, in the way that we've done it. And I've got 4 tips for accountants on how maybe they're or best practice in terms of getting the best out of supporting their clients. So the first one is be creative and passionate in your expression. You've got to talk to your clients and explain to them that you understand what's going on. From your point of view as an accountant, you're having to do the same issues they are. You're having to go through the same motions that they've got to go through. Maybe you're not being financially hit as much as your clients, but you're still having to make sure that your business is changing and that it's ready to take on this whole new world. So be compassionate with them, explain to them that you understand how it is and how they're feeling, and just be there for them in terms of what they need to do. Majority of the time, what we've been doing with our clients is just opening up diary slots for them to book in, just to have a chat and just to have a talk. Sometimes it's fully related to, okay, what schemes are available and everything else. Other times it's just, what do I do, or what can I do, or just want to have a chat with someone who they can trust. And you as the accountant is going to be one of their advisors they're always going to be able to trust. We as a practice have been very flexible in our opening times. We've been available for our clients when they need us. Things like when the government has been addressing the nation during the daily updates. Sometimes you need to be available for your clients soon after that, because they're being given information at that point that they're not 100% understanding how that affects them. So just being able to talk to them or available to them at that point has been really beneficial to our clients. And nowadays we're working from home, so we don't have the commute and everything else. So for us, we've kind of taken that decision that we'll reinvest that time and we'll try and give it back to our clients as much as possible. Show potential clients different ways of approaching the situation they're in. Tell them something they don't know, because they probably know as much about the whole schemes as you do by now. They've read up on Martin Lewis, should I say? They've read up on Martin Lewis. They've looked at these sort of situations. They've gone on forums. They've talked to their friends and everything else. So just regurgitating the information that you've already got isn't always going to be in their best interest. Sometimes it's going to be really beneficial for them to actually talk to them as they are and talk to them as a human being, and just explain maybe in a different way, and maybe explain how it affects their circumstances. But at the same time, do just talk to them about the facts. Make sure they're understanding of the facts, because sometimes they've heard from the grapevine that they could claim this scheme and they claim that scheme, but you've got to be able to talk and look at their circumstances and understand exactly how it is for them. And demonstrate your business acumen. So you as an accountant, you're more than a number cruncher. You've helped clients get out of these spots your entire career. You've been there for clients all through all of this whole situation we're in now, but you've been doing that beforehand anyway, and you've helped clients who have gone through rough times. So explain to them that you're there for them, and you can help them to the best of your ability. And I think if you take that approach with them, and from an accountant's point of view, you're going to be better suited to be able to be ready to be able to help clients as they go along. Heath Showman from the Facebook page. On the sales transaction page, is there a way to add a new column for order number? Currently, I have a create a report with this information. There's a very long-winded way around it. That's a great question from Heath. So this is talking about QuickBooks itself and the product. And as a certified trainer, I can definitely relate to what your experience here in terms of your frustration. Unfortunately, no, there's no way of expanding too much on that one. You do have some options in your sales transaction page. You do have some options in the top right hand corner where you can click on there and you can expand and add additional columns. Unfortunately, though, at this point in time, there's no way of putting the add a new column for order numbers, but that could be a great feedback point for us. So remember, in the top right hand corner, you've got your feedback option. Send that over to us, and that could be something that we could look at. Marie from Twitter DM'd, can I claim wages until the end of May and then make another claim in furlough for longer? Now, with this question, you definitely want to be looking to claim at this point in time. Now, one thing that I tried to reiterate at the beginning of today is that these claims we're going to be doing in sections. So the first section that's been opened has been from March to April, because you're only allowed to do within 14, or you're not allowed to do more than 14 days going forward in terms of your claim. So at this point, you are more than your entitlement, as long as you've been using the right HR functionalities, and as long as you've made sure that you've got everything in place, that you've got that from your point of view, you need to make sure that everything is all set up. You are allowed to claim from the 1st of March until April. And then when it comes to May, if you're still in the same situation, you're still classed as an at-risk, even if you are a director, you've got to make sure that you're not doing any commercial work or anything like that. As long as you're still going through there, you will then be allowed to claim again in April. And in May, and then if you need to, the system, the claim has been expanded until June. So then it gives you an opportunity to maybe claim in June as well. So you need to be splitting these up chunk by chunk. And if it is a point where there's a certain section where you have worked for that point in time, then you're just not able to claim for that available time there. So just make sure that you've got a nice little spreadsheet or a nice little breakdown of exactly what it is you've worked, when you've worked. And from a HR point of view, do make sure that you've got everything in line, that even if you're doing it for yourself, that you're going to be available and you're not making sure that you're over-claiming for anything. One thing that we have been aware of when we've been putting these things is HMRC are asking the right questions in terms of fraudulent claims. So be aware that you've got to make sure that you don't fall under any of those issues. So just be aware and be mindful of it, and make sure that when you do put that claim in, that you've got everything in line to make sure you are able to claim that. Justin from Facebook Messenger asks, it seems like I don't qualify for the self-employment support scheme. What other options do I have? Well, first and foremost, the self-employment income support scheme isn't live yet. So we don't 100% know who is eligible and who isn't. Now, we can do a very good guesstimate, and we can look at what is your previous self-employed your ITR tax returns, what their submissions are. We can do a really good estimate in what we would believe to be the claim. But until the scheme is fully live, we're still kind of in the dark in terms of who does 100% qualify and who doesn't. There's loads of guidance out there, so we should be able to get it pretty much nailed on. But until that scheme fully opens, we're still it's still a guess, if you like, in terms of what's going to happen. Now, if it is the case that you are not eligible for it, again, don't panic too much. This is all about communication. Talk to your bank account. your bank managers and your bank itself. Look at the business interruption loans, see what they can do for you. If they can't help you, then there's also going to be the opportunity if you look at universal credit. Get on yourself onto the scheme, go through the motions of getting yourself signed up for it. Even if maybe you don't need to utilize the universal scheme, it might be worthwhile getting yourself at least signed up for it now, because there is a delay in terms of getting yourself up and talking to someone. So maybe it's a case that you get yourself signed up, and if your circumstances changed and you don't need the universal credit, then that's fine, but at least then you're in the process of being able to claim for it if you do need to claim for it. Also, one of the kind of hidden schemes at the moment that could be worthwhile is talk to your professional bodies. So it doesn't matter what sort of business you do, you probably have some sort of professional body that's been looking after you prior to all this. So as an example, I know that the Arts Council have given 20 million pound, I think it was, available in support for individuals. And that was all about the cultural sector. So you're looking at artists, creative practitioners, freelancers, them sort of people. They were able to go to their professional body and they will be able to ask for aid from there. So maybe depending on what circumstances, depending on what profession you're in, you may have the opportunity to go and have a look at them as well. We've had a question in from Ashley from Twitter DM. I've just started a new job, 20th of March. What rights do I have if they make me furlough or lay me off? It's not a large company, and I know business is not going as hoped because of COVID-19. Well, first and foremost, your employer are the ones who are going to be in control, and they're the ones that it's responsibility for making sure that they treat you correctly. So they would have made sure that they would have had the right legal advice and they would have had the right accountant's advice and everything else. So take it as what they're giving you and what they're doing for you as gospel. If they do put you on at-risk status, then at your point, then at your responsibility then is to support your employer as well. You know, they're having to make a tough decision. They're having to go through the motions, and their other alternative is to unfortunately lay the staff members off. So if you are being put at risk, then at that point, really from your point of view, your responsibility is to support your employer as much as you can. Unfortunately, not allowed to work for them. You have to make sure that you go from there, but you are allowed to do a bit of training and everything else that's with it. And in that particular question, with that cutoff date of the 20th of March, they would have only have put you into that status if they were confident they were able to claim back from the government anyway. And from your point of view, you will be paid the 80% as stated. From their point of view, it's up to if they are able to claim for it or not claim for it. And really, that's their responsibility. And if they're confident they're going to get that claim, that's why they've put you on that scheme in the first place, or they put you in that status, employment status in the first place. We've also had a question from Sharon Farr from the Facebook page. I'm new to QuickBooks. However, our business has been running for 3 years. How do I add stock to be able to manage depreciation through QuickBooks? Great question there. So when it comes to adding stock, it's really straightforward. As long as you're on the highest tier of QuickBooks itself, there is a whole stock management solution. So you jump into services and you jump into products. And from there, you have the ability, when you create new, you choose if it's a service or a product. If it's a product, that is a stock item, and then you can add the stock and sell the stock accordingly. So it makes it work really, really well. When it comes to depreciation, us as accountants, we tend to use journal entries to get that through. And now they've just released a brand new feature in QuickBooks only a couple of days ago, which gives us the opportunity to import journal entries as well. So if you're looking to get depreciation into your business, but make sure you do that. And also don't forget the App Store. So there's a great app on the App Store called Net Tracker, which for depreciation point of view and for stock management, they've got some really good features in there that's going to automate all that for you. So do have a look at the App Store, Net Tracker, and go from there. What accounting services and government support have proven most fundamental in preservation of business so far? So that's James Harlow, I think his name was, from YouTube. And yeah, so far, the one scheme that's been available that's started to come to fruition has been the Grants for Small Business. So the Grants for Small Business was the idea that the government was going to be giving every rateable client a minimum of £10,000 so that they could actually get expenses coming in, or income coming in, should I say, or support coming in, so they can pay for their rent expense and everything else. That's been a scheme that has actually started to come through for our clients now. We've seen a lot of those claims coming through. Do be aware, though, if you are looking to kind of rely on that scheme, keep an eye on your emails, because what tends to happen is once you put that first application in, they're going to ask some really simple questions from you about the council. So we've had questions of, can you provide a bank statement to prove that this is a legitimate bank account? Or can you give us some indication that you have been trading from that address? Really simple questions that, as long as you have been legitimately working and using that premises, you're going to be absolutely fine to answer. But do answer them as soon as possible. They've got thousands upon applications at the moment. They're working through as much as they possibly can. So support them as well. Give them that information as soon as possible. That means it won't be any delay. So I think that grant for small business is a huge one. Some of the overlooked ones, though, we've had the Business Emergency Relief Fund that councils have been giving out as well. So some councils have been giving out small little incentives to kind of help businesses go along. Those schemes seem to be opening and closing. But look at your local council, see what's available for you, and look for the words Business Emergency Relief Fund. There should be a nice little opportunity for you to sign up and at least be up to date with it. And if you're an R&D client, so research and development client, we've had some enhancements into the way that we can claim for research and development, and the government have also been telling us that they're going to make sure that the 28-day turnaround period is going to be done as best to their ability, especially to small businesses. So as research and development, they've been a good one for you as well. Amar from Twitter. So this is our last 5 minutes now. So Amar from Twitter, I have 5 employees and I can't afford to keep them all on full time. Will my best option be to ask them to go down in time and work 40% or make some of them furloughed? We still trade and need 2 to 3 people full time. Will I have to cover the extra cost for 2,500 or is a choice I have to make? Also, would I need their consent to put them on the scheme? First of all, that's a really interesting question. And it's one that really, that's the sort of thing you need to be going to your accountant and talking to them about. There's going to be a lot of circumstances there. There's a lot of moving parts you need to consider. On the basis of that question, and just to give you a quick 2-minute bit where you can actually understand what's going on and just give you a bit of advice there, you need to be looking at each individual employee. The best thing you've done there is you've already understand how much you need those 2 to 3 people full time. So you've done some of the hard work and you've understand what your business needs are. Now your next bit is to understand from your point of view as a business what is going to be best going forward. Now with that question there, personally, you're going to be taking a little bit of a risk, a little bit of a gamble. But I think from what you've kind of the way you've worded that question, the way you've put that question approach, your probably best option is to think about looking at maybe not just the furloughed scheme as your alternative, but maybe having a look at having people working on and off and on and off and on and off. That can sometimes be a much more cost-effective one for a business like yourself. So do kind of take that into consideration. So last 3 minutes, so we'll do one more question to get through. One of my employees is on maternity leave, but is due to come back in 4 weeks. What are HMRC around this, and what the process of making some people furloughed? So I'm going to give you a big plug here for our COVID-19's blog that's on Furlough. We go into this in a lot of depth, but basically, don't worry, you've not been forgotten about at all. There are rules and regulations in place, and there's options there for you as an employee or for your employee who's on maternity leave. That hasn't been forgotten. So there is ways in which when they come back in, they're going to be put straight into the scheme. And as long as you do it from the right way, as long as you follow the guidelines set out in the blog that we've put up, then you're going to be absolutely fine in making sure that goes through. And with that, then we're about to wrap up for today. So thank you very much for for asking me to come along to be your expert for the day. Thank you for everyone for the involvement. Thanks for QuickBooks and Intuit for inviting me along. Same time tomorrow, we've got another speaker. So the speaker that we've got Freddie from Stag Coffee. He's in at 8:30 on Tuesday morning. He successfully pivoted his whole business from a high street coffee shop into a door-to-door grocery service. That's a huge way in which businesses have had to do that, and that's going to be really insightful into understanding how he's managed to change his business going forward. And reminder that if you need any more advice, join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group. I'm on there myself. I've been answering questions where accountants, business, and experts are there 24/7. So please make sure that we've got everyone in place. So it's Thursday morning, should I say, just a reminder about Freddie. So Thursday morning, that's tomorrow. I'm completely forgetting the days at this moment in time. So yeah, tomorrow morning, Thursday, 8:30 for the next expert. It's been really grateful to have this opportunity to talk to you today. Look forward to kind of seeing you all at some other point. Stay safe, everyone. Have a great day ahead, and bye for now. Thank you, everyone.